Hello, I'm Al Beatty, and today's tip from Fly Tire Magazine, tip number 6. It's going to be what we call the perfect parachute. It's actually 4, maybe even 5 tips that we've published over the years, all rolled into one. Now it'll be just a short video, so watch closely, because we'll start by showing you how to get the perfectly even wing, and then we'll go from there. When we reference the evenness of the wing, we're talking about length. Length is equal to the hook shank for both the tail and the wing. What we like to do is use a spare hook as a measuring gauge. Let me stack my calf tail here. I'll pull it out of the stacker and prepare to tie it on the hook. I've got a long end in here I want to get rid of. And I always have had trouble tying my wings on and getting them the right length. If I set them right on top, for some reason they either come out short or long. So what I've learned to do is to tie them on the side extra long, so I know they're too long. 3 snug but not tight turns. Now I'll bring my gauge into play and I'll pull that wing back until it's the proper length. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and put tight wraps on it. It rolls that material right up on top. And I'm getting ready to trim, and I want you to notice that I did not wrap back all the way to the trimmed ends from the tail. That's because I want to place my scissors in flat along the shank from the off side of the hook, hold the fibers up at about a 45-degree angle, and make my trim. That makes a real steep cut, and it blends the two hairs together. You get a nice smooth underbody, and when you have a smooth underbody, you have a really good chance then of getting a good, smooth looking fly. Now, we want to make sure that these fibers stay on top of the wing, and you notice where this is hanging right in the middle of the hook. I'm going to leave it there for a moment, pull my wings up. I had one fiber get under, crisscross underneath. I didn't want that. I'll come in underneath that, pull back, and anchor it in place. Now I'll go ahead and wrap up my post. All that does is ensure that the hair does not slip down and come across under the hook. And that happens often, and that throws your fly off balance, and it'll sometimes land on the water wrong. Depends on how badly off balance you get the fly. Now notice I'm going around the post, working my way up, and then I come from the top straight down to the body. It's kind of like a tent rope application. It holds that post right up at a good angle. I'll wrap a ball of thread in front. And I'll take a moment now and go find some dubbing. While I was off camera, I got a package of dubbing. And the dubbing we like to use is one that we produce ourselves. It's called Soft Touch. And it's, if you have muskrat belly fur, it's the identical thing. We're also going to be using some of our BT's dubbing wax, and I also captured a grizzly hackle. So let's first start by talking about the dubbing wax. Notice that it only peaks above the top of the tube just a small amount. That's really important, otherwise the wax will tend to slough off onto the thread and make a mess. Okay, we'll just set that aside. Now I'm going to use the touch method of just touching the dubbing to the sticky thread. I don't even have to take it out of the package. I just touch it on there and twist one direction only, and start wrapping forward. Now, I can tell you right now I don't have enough dubbing to do the job, but that's okay. We can add to it, which we will. Just about get up to the wing, and I'm going to go ahead and add some more dubbing right now. Had a little lump here that don't look too good. I'll just trim that off. Now let's put on some more dubbing. And while we're dubbing forward, we're going to tie on our hackle. One of the things we had trouble with for years is, just like many of you, you'd tie a traditional parachute, and when you trim the hackle off at the hook eye, the darn thing sometimes would clog the hook, the eye. And then you're on the water later with another hook trying to clear the eye so you can get it on your tippet. Really is frustrating. Let me just add a little bit of extra dubbing on here. And instead of stopping at the hook eye, we're going to wrap back to a position behind the post. Alright, we're going to stop right there. And this is the way we've finished off parachutes for years. Now I'm going to rotate this so it's a little bit easier to get to. And I'm just going to wrap around the post and the hackle and then back to the bottom, making certain that my thread remains behind the post. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap the hackle starting at the top of the post, making each subsequent turn closer to the body until we reach the body. Pull the hackle down and back and then come around the post with the thread 2 turns. We'll trim the waist, set that aside for the next fly. 1 more turn, and I'm going to tilt this just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to take a 1/2 hitch tool and put on a 1/2 hitch and another, and then I'm going to put on a whip finish and a second whip finish using the same tool. Notice how I didn't have to disturb that hackle at all? Well, that's one way to turn out a perfect parachute. The way we like to glue that particular fly is, let me get a bodkin here. I'm not going to use any glue on camera. I'd hate to get glue all over my camera, but you put a drop of glue right there. Let it go down through your hackle, and it'll eventually work its way forward on that piece of thread and glue the hook eye as well. Anyway, we'll set that guy aside. This particular tip came from our good friend Dave Whitlock, and it's very similar to what we do, but I think it might even be a little bit easier. Anyway, we're going to bring some fly tires Z-Men into the mix, or crazy glue, or whatever you want to use, something like that. Anyway, we have already prepared a dub body, the wing, and so forth. Hackle is tied on, in position, tied to the top of the post, and our thread is behind the post. We'll wrap just like we did before, starting at the top, making each subsequent turn closer to the body. Now we'll just come around the post twice like before. This time we'll leave the thread hanging to the front. Trim that off. I think I'll go ahead and strip this off for the next fly. I'll set that aside. And now with the Dave Whitlock method is just to take a little bit of this crazy glue, put it on the thread, and we'll take a couple of turns more around the post and trim off the thread, and you're ready to go fishing. You're done. Now that's pretty easy. We got one more to show you. Now in this scenario you can see that I've flipped a hook over in the vise so that my post is now parallel to the tying area, and that I have tied my hackle to the top of the post. Also, I want you to notice that the thread is also at the top of the post. You'll see why now. We call this the Helfer Stout parachute version, and it's just about impossible to tear up. Can't remember who showed this to us, but anyway, it was somebody in the Federation of Fly Fishers that did. And anyway, notice that I'm wrapping the hackle each subsequent turn closer to the body, just like before. Now I'm going to hold this back and start squiggling through the hackle with my thread as I work my way to the body. Notice that anchors the hackle because each turn of hackle is anchored before the next one by wrapping over the top like I just did. Now we're going to trim this off. And there it is, tightened into place. And that's the Helfer Stout parachute. And I can tell you that hackle will not be coming loose. What do you think of that?